Spoiler alert, we're unpacking the whole plot, twist by twist. If you're spoiler sensitive, hit pause and come back when your TBR list catches up. Cheers!
Welcome to the podcast where our reading habits are unhinged.
And so are we.
I'm Gabby.
I'm Miranda.
And this
is Marginally Unwell. I did it.
We like the way.
Yeah. Y'all enjoy my intros, right? Keep you on your toes.
You never know what's gonna happen.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow. Anyway. Well, this week we are talking about the 7-year slip.
Heck yeah.
After inheriting her aunt's New York apartment, Clementine West discovers it sometimes slips 7 years into the past. There, she meets a charming chef whose life exists out of sync with her own present. As time bends around her, Clementine must confront grief, timing, and whether love can survive when the moment is never quite right.
Cute.
Yep, this
was a romance, obviously.
yeah.
Gabby's favorite genre. You can tell how happy she is. It was cute.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
Yeah. So let's kick it off. First question. How does the 7-year time slip affect Clementine's understanding of love and timing?
All I can think of is that song, It's a Time Warp.
So that's where we're at.
She's a complicated lady, you know? She hasn't ever really committed to anybody in the beginning of the book. She's never really given it her all. She's giving everything to her job. She stays late. She goes in early. She never takes vacation other than 1 week in, I believe, August with her aunt. They go traveling. That's her whole life. Like, that's what she centers her life around, is her work and that one trip a year. And then anything after that is just kind of secondary other than her friends. Like, she still's like, oh, well, I can't make it. I gotta go to work, you know? She still tries to make time for them, but it's also not a priority.
Yeah.
So
I think the time slip affects her understanding of everything because she is kind of forced to. She's not forced to fall in love, obviously, but she doesn't have any control over the apartment, like, going back 7 years.
yeah, it just happens randomly.
Yeah, and so she really has no choice other than to be there and be present. And so that, and, like, I feel like kind of an underlying thing in the book is that the apartment, like, does it when you're at a crossroads. Like, I think that's what it said. Like, when the two people are at, like, a crossroads in their life or whatever, and that's whenever it does it. I think to change their perspective on what's happening. So, like, the very first time I think the slip happens, she ends up spending the whole weekend. They're, like, the whole weekend in the apartment together.
Yeah, the first time was because I remember her boss was saying that she was going to retire in, like, a year or something, and so she could take that.
Yeah.
But then she was also, like, her boss forced her to take her vacation because she had rescinded it because her aunt had passed and she didn't want to do it.
So this was a big crossroads in her life because, number one, her aunt had just passed and she inherited the apartment, and so she's just basically moving into it. She's deciding to move into it. And then at the same time, her boss has only told her that she's going to be retiring, and basically she's putting her up for a promotion to take over, like, a part of her role. And so if she continues on this path, it's basically going to be, like, a lot of the same stuff. So then the apartment sends her to a different timeline with the chef guy, and Iwan, and it has to change her perspective because she's, like, basically stuck there.
Yeah.
So
I do get that.
and the timing of it is because of all the stuff happening in her life. Perfect
Timing.
is it, or is it not?
The apartment thought so.
The sentient apartment.
I'm really emotionally turned in.
What is it?
Apartment, emotionally tuned in.
I was like, what are you saying?
It almost came out weird. Yeah. Keeping you guessing. Yes. So that was great. Do you think Clementine would have made the same choices without the apartment's magic? Why or why not?
No, I don't think so.
I also don't think so.
We basically just talked about that. She was on a path that she thought was like what she was supposed to do, basically.
Mm-hmm.
This was her career, and like that's what she focused on, all the things. And so I feel like she would have continued that path had there not been some sort of change in her way to like give her a different perspective. So I definitely don't think she would have made the same choices.
I agree. I also think that her choices, like her mindset 7 years in the future, is a lot different than Ewan's mindset 7 years in the past.
Yeah.
They're obviously the age is different, but also like he's very on a whim, very type B, very
Well, and he's just starting out, so everything is like so hopeful and like all the dreams that he wants to accomplish and all the things.
You're not beaten down by reality.
Not to get depressing or anything.
But yeah, I think that really helped like change her perspective. His ideology.
There you go. You got there.
But yeah, I liked it. I like that she changed him and he changed her mindset.
How does grief shape Clementine's personality and decisions throughout the story?
Honestly, in the beginning, she doesn't. I think she like pushes it aside and doesn't want to necessarily deal with it. She like digs herself deeper into work. Like, for example, she canceled her like annual trip because it was her and her aunt's thing. So I don't think she was ready to accept it. I think she was in the denial part of grief. I think towards the end, she learned a lot about her aunt through the journey of like back and forth and, you know, like exploring her grief of her aunt in that. And I think towards the end she was still confused by it, but also like accepting of it.
Yeah. And I think that also her, like how she viewed her aunt in the beginning and everything was just like, not that it was like negative by the end or anything like that, but it was just so like she saw her as this larger than life person, like a lot of charisma. Like she talked a lot about her talking to strangers and just would go anywhere and do anything, and she was liked by everybody and all these things. And so her like coming to terms with like that person being gone and also figuring out like who she is outside of that, because she kind of, the way she explained things was a lot about she was never that person. And so I think that also gave her like something else in her life. Like she got to be somebody else whenever she was around her, and like they went on these trips and all this stuff. And so it was a little bit of lost identity, I think, because she wanted to be that type of person. But then she only knew how to just like dive into work even more and stuff like that. And in the beginning, she had just gotten out of a relationship where even he was like, you work all the time, all the stuff, you don't make us a priority. And that was true, and she like fully knew that, but that's just what she thought.
She wasn't emotionally invested in the relationship.
Yeah. So, and then I also think that like her ending up deciding to move into that apartment also obviously shaped a lot of her personality and decisions, because it made her start viewing her aunt and like look at things, because her aunt also talked about, she thought her aunt was like joking about the magic apartment, or like it was like a metaphor basically. And then also talked about like, you know, never to fall in love with the person and whatever.
Oh, in the apartment.
And so I think she resisted a lot because of that too.
Yeah.
And because of her like telling her that type of thing.
That's good.
Yeah.
In what way does Ewan/James change over the 7 years? And what stays the same about him?
Well, he's now beaten down by like
the reality.
Yeah, I mean, he's a lot less, he's more aware of like risk, and he's a lot more focused, and it's less like, oh, I just want these big dreams of like becoming this chef and whatever, and more seems to be a little bit more like rigid about what he wants and expectations that he has, that kind of thing. He seems a lot more, I don't know if I would say like cold, a less less like emotionally attached. Just he's going for what he wants, and like that's all his focus is. And I think I don't know if this is necessarily true, but she at least feels like he lost a lot of traits that she like really loved about him because of that. Like in the beginning, he talked a lot about making simple dishes. What was it, like the greatest dish ever or something?
No, it's not. No. It's not made twice. Not made the same twice. That one.
No, because he was just talking about like basically the best dishes aren't like the most technical or things like that. They come from a feeling, not like necessarily a memory. And he talked a lot about his grandpa, and like that's why he wanted to do it. His grandpa wanted to be a chef, and that's how he like found his love for food. And I think that Clementine feels like he kind of lost that passion in the search for success in that. And so he became a lot less.
I like that. I really like that. I think that a lot of the same. I think a lot of like you were saying, reality really got to him after those 7 years. I think he did lose a lot of his inspiration and at the beginning because he was very into like what you're saying with his grandfather, and I think he lost track of like his roots and then got onto the bandwagon of what would entertain or grab the masses instead of sticking to his roots. Which I also thought he kind of kept to because he encouraged his best friends to open up that food restaurant, and he like loves their food.
The taco truck.
The taco truck. So cute.
Yeah,
I loved that.
I mean, yeah, he did do that, and I mean, I was saying more like that's from her perspective, from Clementine's perspective, because she feels like he lost a lot of that, but then doesn't realize till the end like how much of it is actually there. It's just elevated. Like him doing the deconstructed
lemon
meringue, and so he still had that stuff. He just changed because he grew up. But she saw it as like he like doesn't have passion anymore. He's just like all about opening this restaurant, and making money and like status and all this stuff. Yeah. And not about like what he loves, and that's what she liked about him in the past self of him. And so I think it was not just her perspective, but a lot of it was her perspective because she was also the only one who like knew.
Yeah, that she knew the full picture.
Yeah,
I agree.
What role does Aunt Annalie play in the story even after her death?
She's mentioned a lot throughout the book and referenced. I think she is still very affected by her passing, obviously. I think that she has a lot to do with how she sees things. Like, she takes, like what you were saying, a lot of her remarks, like, don't fall in love with in the apartment, But she's also kind of, like, whimsical and everything. I'm not too sure. I think after her death, she took that, like, I don't know, eccentric, kind of on a whim, kind of part of Clementine's personality also went away after her death. I think she became more structured and,
yeah. That's kind of what I was saying earlier too. Like she really only saw herself being that person whenever she was with her for that like week vacation that they went on. In her eyes, she could only be that person with her, and it was because of her that she was able to act like that, because her aunt was so free and just like I said, charismatic and all the things. And so, yeah, that definitely left with that. And I think just her grief process also played a huge role in, like, had her playing a huge role in the story, because I feel like a lot of the decisions that were made were because of her, one way or the other.
I agree. Because it's interesting how it's basically her grief journey around her death.
Yeah.
I was surprised about that. I wasn't expecting a grief journey in this.
Yeah, well, especially because, like, I feel like you don't expect, because you're dealing with loss and then at the same time, like, gaining like you're trying to fall in, well, she wasn't trying to, but she's like falling in love, and so she's gaining like this person, this big love, at the same time as she's losing like one of the most loved people in her life.
Yeah.
And so it's a really weird juxtaposition to go through in life, I feel like, to have like feelings like that, but then also be so sad.
Yeah, conflicting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Guilt.
Probably.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would imagine. Do you think the apartment represents fate, healing, or something else entirely? I think something else. I think
it represents, I don't know, maybe a little bit of healing, because it's making you actually like stop and take a closer look at everything in your life. I am not a big fate believer, so I don't really feel that way. I mean, because I don't know. That question threw me.
Yeah. I was thinking kind of something else. Like I can see healing after you said that.
Yeah.
But I was thinking more of like something else, like you were saying, it throws her into the past whenever she's at a crossroads. So I was thinking kind of more of a guide, you know, kind of like okay, let's take you out of what you're going through, and that way you can look at the problem instead of being in the problem.
Yeah.
So I was kind of thinking that.
Yeah.
But I guess it can be healing, because it's especially going through the grief journey.
Yeah. I guess it could have ended up either way, but yeah, I feel like it's a lot of perspective.
Yeah.
I guess, and more looking at your life as a whole instead of like through the lens of your like day to day that you're engrossed in. How does the book explore the idea of a right person, wrong time?
These questions
That we did.
What were we thinking? What was I thinking? The idea of a right person, wrong time. Well, obviously they're not even on the same timeline.
Yeah.
Let's get that out. The other thing about it, I think it is. It's so hard because her at that time, because she mentioned it in the book, because whenever she goes back 7 years, her and her aunt were at some one of their trips. That's why he's in the apartment.
Yeah.
And so she thinks it's like it wouldn't have worked out whenever I was at that time, because she was going through some like really bad breakup and whatever.
That was whenever she was doing the career thing. That was when she first decided to go into publishing.
I think that's a different part that I'm thinking of. Whenever she first goes out there, the first time that they go out there, she's like, why is he here? He was there because her and her aunt were in some country.
Right.
And then she had decided to go to get into publishing because she was in a taxi cab.
Yeah, that when they came back from that trip.
Yeah.
That's whenever she met, because he was leaving the apartment and she was, and they had just come back from that trip.
Yeah. And, I don't know. That is a good point, because they also kind of like interact with each other without knowing that they're interacting with each other in the current timeline. But I think she is the right person for him back then whenever she is current person. I don't think it would have been right for them in the same timeline. I think that they're right for each other in different timelines.
Yeah.
But obviously that can't.
I don't know if it's necessarily like wrong time, because I still feel like they were matched, but I think that if they had met in the same timeline, they were just, so the past self of her was just going through like all this stuff, like we were saying, you know, they were doing the trip and like she was just shifting career and like all the things. And so she's like focused on that. He's trying to do his thing. He like just moved there, all the stuff. But then at the same time, when it's her future self coming back to him at that time, she really needed like somebody who was like passionate and a little bit more free and all the things, because she was like so stuck in her ways and dealing with her grief at that time.
Yeah, she needed somebody to like break her out of that.
But then whenever they got to the current timeline and she ends up like meeting him in like real time, honestly, I think that he needed her at that time because she knew him as the person with like all the passion, and so he needed her to bring that back in him.
Yeah.
And like remind him why that. So
I think it's right person, right time. But she had to get to know him in his past to help, like you were saying.
Right, because if they had met in the
current time only,
or in the past time only, it would have been the wrong timing for both of them.
I agree.
If all that makes sense.
You said it better than me. Damn, it made sense in my head.
We need a diagram.
We need to get our whiteboard. Like 26.
Bro. It's also, like, I'm just going to say this right now, it's really throwing me off calling her Clementine. Because he calls her Lemon throughout the whole book.
It was cute.
It is cute. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, who the hell is Clementine? Because it's not who I read about.
Yeah, why'd we do that?
I don't know. Because that is her name, but still.
Which character, besides Clementine, did you connect with most and why? Bro. What other character? What was her friend's name that was trying to get him as a Drew? I would say Drew. I connected with Drew. Because I feel like she's a little bit more balanced than Clementine. You know, like she's not trying to be like up here. Like she still has like goals and aspirations, but she's not throwing herself into everything. She like wants to be social. She wants to go and get the thing that's on the higher level, like getting Ewan/James to sign the book deal with them.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But she's also like, well, it's okay if it doesn't happen. Yeah. I'm still upset, but whatever.
But she's also, they're starting a family.
Yeah.
Like they're having a baby, all the things, and she's married and like all the things. So she has like, I guess like a more balanced.
Yeah.
Like it's not all career driven.
That's interesting. I also liked his friend group with the taco truck.
Yeah.
I thought it was so cute that they had like their own like little thing with like the tattoos behind the ear.
Yeah. That was
their
so
little
cute. Yeah.
Like he had a whisk and they all had something to do with like kitchen and cooking.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, that's so cute. What would mine be? And she's like, what about this random kitchen item? And they're like, no, it would be a pen or what was it?
I don't know.
Something to do with books. No, it was a paintbrush. I lied.
Oh, yeah.
She likes to paint. Like, that's her passion.
That's her actual passion and not, like, what she's been doing.
Yeah.
But, I was going to say the wife of that couple. Because she was just, like, so, like...
Fiona?
Huh?
Fiona? Or, no, the wife of the guy's best friend?
Yeah. The one who they own the truck. I can't remember her name right now. But regardless, she was hilarious because they all went to culinary school together, and it was funny because she was just like not putting up with any of their bullshit.
Yeah,
basically, which is like, y'all are so dumb. But she like loves them.
Yeah,
and I relate to that. That's funny. Also, the pigeons were hilarious.
Yeah, brother and brother. How long do pigeons live? Are they the same pigeons?
It's funny. Yeah. How did the blend of romance and magical realism affect your reading experience?
I thought it was cute. I thought it was a cute premise. I don't think my reading experience. I don't know. I just was in there for the vibes. I didn't think too hard about this book, guys. I thought it was cute. I thought it would be, and honestly, it was kind of like stressing me out because whenever she gets thrown into this 7-year slip, I'm like, what's going on in the future right now? Like, is it just on pause or is time still going? Like, do people think like I've gone missing for 3 days? Or is it, and then what about those deadlines? So I was a little bit stressed.
Yeah, because it did keep going on. Because like that whole weekend that they spent, and then she realized that she had like a bajillion text messages.
Yeah.
And all this stuff. So it kept going.
Yeah, how stressful, because you don't know whenever you're going back. It just happens. So
when she left, it went back. But she didn't know if she would lose it coming back into the apartment. So that was the risk. Because once she walked out the door, she was back in her timeline. It didn't guarantee that if she walked back in, that it would be his timeline.
Right.
And so...
I know, it's stressful either way. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm going back to his timeline randomly, but how far into his timeline? Like, it's just the whole thing kind of stressed me out. But But it was cute and whimsical. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess what the question is really asking is like, did it throw you out of the story because it's like this magical apartment, whatever.
No.
And I don't really feel like that. I
thought it blended well with the story and the plot.
Yeah. I thought it was fun and interesting. And then also went in well, like whenever she ends up meeting her aunt's love that she found in the apartment and everything. And so I feel like it kind of all comes together.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like it was so crazy. Obviously, a magic apartment is crazy, but I don't feel like it was so crazy that I was like, what am I even reading right now? Like,
yeah,
this took me out of the story because like that was the story. Was the apartment understands whenever you need. That was the premise. You need like a change really quick to like see a different perspective. So like that was the story. So I don't feel like it threw me out of anything. I thought it was a good mix of everything.
Yeah, I thought it was like a character on its own, almost.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're not going there. What message do you think the author is sending about choosing between comfort and risk?
I mean, the biggest thing is just that, or for me, that I take from it is that just because it's something comfortable or that like maybe is viewed as the best path, you know what I mean? Because she had like a big girl job and all this stuff, and like if she were to go off painting, like that's not what people would view as like a smart decision. But ultimately, like chasing that is going to make you happy too. You have to be willing sometimes to step out of that comfort because you could be finding something even better.
It's hard for me to choose one from the other. I think you need both. And that's, I don't know what's wrong with me with that. Well, I think you need to take the risk, but you also need to like have like a safety net. So I think it helps like, okay, yes, taking the comfort and taking the obvious choice is an okay thing, but is it really going to balance your life? Are you going to be happy? Are you, trying to get like, yes, you're achieving in this part of your life, but you're missing out on a relationship and you're missing out on connections with your friends, socializing because you're prioritizing work. And then like taking the risk into committing to a relationship or like taking the risk into getting into painting and all those things doesn't necessarily mean like one or the other. I think it's a little bit of both.
Well, yeah, I think that you need that, and I mean, your brain is going to want you to choose comfort because it's trying to keep you safe. But at the same time, like, you'll never experience any new or good things if you don't take a risk. And I think sometimes, too, for me anyway, like, I tend to think a risk, and, like, it's not actually really that big of a risk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we make too much out of it. If that relationship doesn't work out, like, yeah, I would be sad and stuff like that, but, like, what are you really risking? That you're living your life? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're risking heartbreak. Yeah, that's part of it. And so sometimes I feel like we think that these, quote unquote risks are a lot bigger than they are.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can pay off to be.
Yeah, we make it more daunting than it actually needs to be.
But I am a chronic overthinker, so I don't know.
It's gone out through every scenario.
It makes me think of that girl we've been talking about that does the TikTok series, like, how long does it actually take?
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly, yeah, because I'm like, I will overthink something to death far longer than it would have even taken me to do it. Okay? So, like, I will overthink a risk far more than, like, the risk it's not even that big of a risk, okay? It's probably generous calling it a risk, you know what I mean?
That's funny.
Did the ending feel satisfying to you? Why or why not?
I thought it did. I thought it, like, wrapped up pretty nicely. I got a little bit of a twist. The whole book, you're trying to figure out, like, the aunt died, but you don't know how. So you're like trying to, like, it's coming up clues. So that was, it came out of left field for me. I'm not sure about you because she's older. I think she's like in her 60s.
Yeah, I don't know if it ever said her age, but that's what
Mhm.
I pictured too, because she's her mom's sister.
Yeah.
So I would think, yeah.
60s, and so I'm like, oh man, maybe it was a stroke, maybe it was like something medical.
Yeah.
And she ended up.
Or I think I thought it was like an accident too, because I think they were talking about like they really felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. Like
Yeah.
I thought it could have been like a car accident.
Yeah.
Or she was traveling, that type of thing.
That's a good one too. I was thinking like something
something sudden.
Yeah, something sudden. And but yeah, she ended up ending her own life, and so I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that. So, and then I also liked how they all kind of came together. I liked how they kind of touched on how they met throughout their own time, like their current timelines together, without even knowing that they were who they were. I thought that was cute. Very fate-like.
Yeah. Because, yeah, I know. I really struggle with the fate thing, but I did actually really like that part at the end where they like realized the amount that they've actually crossed paths like in the cab after the trip. They had legitimately talked to each other, and he was the stranger in the cab that basically told her to go for publishing, which then shaped like how much of her life was kind of crazy. And then I also feel like it was another interesting turn on like the effect that how the aunt passed had on her, because like we were talking about previously, you know, that she had this like alter personality where she could kind of be more like her whenever she was on vacation, and she so badly wanted to be that person. So I think it was probably really confusing for her to try to understand, because from her perspective there was this person that was like so full of life and again so charismatic, so all the things, friends with everybody, traveling, so luxurious, had this, you know, like Upper East Side New York apartment, all the things that you would think people would love. And then so because she was like carrying so much and she was actually so sad, it probably really rocked her perspective on that, and then probably even more pushed her into like focusing on work and not being that person. And so I thought that it made sense to me. I felt like it wrapped everything nicely, and I like how everybody ended up together. Even the other girl from the office that they all kind of were like, oh my gosh, she's always like breaking up with her boyfriend, and she's like crying, yeah, all the time or whatever. And then she ended up even kind of like being like taken in as part of like the friend group, and like she didn't realize how much like that friendship meant to her and stuff like that too. I thought it was good, like a good ending, wrapped everything together, but it also wasn't just like a happily ever after either. It was more just like healing, of moving through life, of actually processing like all the stuff that's going on. I liked the ending.
If you could change one decision a character made, what would it be?
One decision.
There's a lot of decisions in this thing.
I don't know what I would have.
I have one.
Okay.
I would have liked her to paint more, you know, because I feel like, by her I mean Clementine. I think, yeah, I don't know. I just think her life is so like structured and I hate to say it, boring. So I think it would be cute if she had like her own thing that she kept to herself, but she always like she continued to do it because it was. I think it was just for her. And I wish she had continued to do something just for her. Because I feel like all this stuff is like she's pouring herself into work. She's pouring herself into her aunt. She's like trying to be in a relationship and socialize with her friends. But I think if she had something that was like just her and like just brought her own like peace or hobby or joy or whatever, I think that would be cute.
I don't know. I wish she would have like maybe done something with, because she used to paint the travel guides, and I wish she would have like done something with that career wise instead of like, I guess, stepping straight into publishing.
Something creative, but not.
Yeah, so not she could have pursued like successfully, but like also,
is it like book covers or something?
Yeah, like something like that. I feel like that would have been cool. Like, or even just like painting covers for like travel guides, travel books, or whatever. I don't know, something like that. So kind of along the same lines, I guess, as you. I was trying to think of like a specific decision, but I can't really think of anything because a lot of it's kind of the point of the book, but a lot of the decisions that were made affected the outcome of the book. Yeah. So I don't know.
If you make one decision change, like, then, it would change the outcome of the book.
Right. So I don't know that I really would have.
How was that book?
Oh, that was so quick.
That was quick. I mean, it was a quick read.
It was, yeah.
It was very quick. It was just nice. Refreshing.
Yeah, that one had been on my list for a while. Like, I just never reach for it. So I'm, like, forced to. But I heard good things. I kept seeing it on, like, rec videos and stuff like that.
I've never seen this.
What?
I've never seen this.
That's how it ended up on my TBR. Was because, like, I kept seeing it over and over again.
I didn't even know it was a romance. I thought it was just, like, well, I'm sure it had a romance in it because it had the two people, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I just went into it straight like, okay, it's the next book.
This is what we're doing. Sure, sounds great.
Sometimes it's nice.
I mean,
don't gotta overthink it.
Yeah, no expectations.
Yeah,
going into it. That's fair.
So, I'm surprised it was on your list.
Well, like I said, I mean, I just kept seeing that.
It's so funny.
So,
anyway, let's talk about the book some more. How'd you feel about the writing style?
I feel like the writer could have left more to be
the imagination.
Yeah. Pretty much clocked everything immediately that was gonna happen. Like, other than the how the aunt died, I think everything else, I was like, yeah. So this is happening now. I was early on into the book and you had already finished it, and I literally called you and I was like, so this is it, right? Yeah. And you're like, yeah.
So it's the same guy, right?
Yeah. So
it's not. Sometimes those are painful too because it's like it's so obvious, and it's like, why can't the character understand?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't the character get this sooner?
And so I think with the writing, I wish there was like a little bit more of mystery, or like not so like obviously that's gonna be the person, or I don't know. I felt it was just really predictable writing, and I feel like it could have been written a little bit more in a way where you were still like kind of wondering about certain aspects, but I mean, it was fine. It was like the dialogue was all good and stuff like that, so I didn't feel like it was overly cheesy or anything like that. So it was okay.
Brings us into story engagement. How engaged were you?
I don't know. I think like normal now. I wasn't like dying to
get to
it again because I was like, I already know. I also feel like it was a good flow of like the going back and forth in time, and it wasn't like annoying me with like sometimes, especially with like timeline books, you go into a timeline and then you're like, I don't want to read this anymore. I don't know what's happening, and I don't
feel like really well.
Yeah, I don't feel like I had that, so I feel like the engagement was pretty normal throughout. I was not overly or under.
I agree. Even though it was predictable, I enjoyed the story unfolding.
Yeah.
Like, you knew, it was just like waiting for them to like get the click.
Yeah.
But I think their interactions and all of that was really well. I also kind of like the little. I don't know. I like their interactions, like how they talked about things. Like, I also like that he was, and this has nothing to do with story engagement, but I like that he was like a chef and like she was like a book editor or a publisher or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, two of my two favorite things. This is nice.
Yeah. I do feel like that was really well matched.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of cute. It was cute. Also because she talked about like she couldn't cook nothing.
She was helpless.
Yeah. So that's always kind of funny.
Overall ratings.
I rated this one a 3.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty good for me on a romance. So
yeah.
I thought it was well predictable, still fun, and I enjoyed the journey anyway, even though I knew the ending.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was pretty good.
Yeah. I rated it a 3.5. I thought it was cute. I liked their interactions, their dialogue with each other. I didn't like that it was predictable, and I liked that I had a little bit of a shock. I was like, with the aunt?
Yeah.
Like, what the heck?
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
So, I knew she died. I don't know. It was just, it got me. I was like, what?
Yeah. Which did you read the epilogue too?
I don't remember.
That it was, or it might have just been an author's note, but she talked about like going through this writing process, and she lost her grandpa, I think it was, for the same reason. And, so this also had a lot of like her own
influence
and grief and like working through that and mixed into it. So that was kind of interesting to know after the fact. Because I feel like you can see how she was like processing that, and that's kind of interesting.
It is interesting. I do remember that. I also thought that it paralleled some of Abby Jimenez stuff.
Oh yeah,
because she does like those author notes that are a bit heavy, but also like her own experiences, like her friend.
Yeah,
with some of the situations that she's had, and so I don't know. So I guess this is a trend now with romance books, where it's like healing, but also romance. The two that I've read like this, but so that's a wrap for today's episode. Thanks so much for listening and being part of the conversation with us. Next week is our popular pick week. Yeah, I'm really liking that we're doing these.
Yeah, me too.
And we'll be diving into the Fae and Alchemy series, which is Quicksilver and Brimstone. So make sure to tune in. We can't wait to talk all things magic, Fae, and alchemy with you next time.